Live from Washington, D.C., Jay Sekulow Live. Phone lines are open for your questions right now. And now, Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the broadcast. We're going to take a look at today. As we said, we're not going to go over previous election results. That's like old news already. The president-elect of the United States is Donald Trump. The president-elect is meeting with President Obama as we speak, and we're looking at the agenda items going forward. Now, we are keeping our eye, of course, on the situation with what President Obama will do now with 71 days between today and the swearing in of Donald Trump as president of the United States. There's already talk of people that might well be in the cabinet. There's already discussions on Israel. Donald Trump has said that he does not see the two-state solution as the way to end the conflict, which is very interesting. In other words, a Palestinian state and a Jewish state side by side. He has also said, and his team has said, that he does not see what's called the Judea and Samaria as obstacles to peace. And he's said he's going to keep his promise to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which in and of itself, by the way, Jordan, that's a huge thing. I mean, that's a really big thing.
This would be,
historic.
Alone, it's a very simple move that the president can order, but the ramifications of that are huge. Yeah. And if it's so for the foreign policy, it would set a tone for this is how our relationship with how strong our relationship with Israel is. He would break from previous presidents who were just too concerned about Republicans as well, the diplomatic ramifications of doing this. And so, but I think this would be the way for Donald Trump to totally signify in a way that's simple to do. You don't have to go through.
Yeah, we looked at the law, and the president just orders it moved.
Yeah, you don't have to go through Congress. It doesn't have to work through that. You order it moved. Yes, you will get some criticism from the Muslim world
for an hour.
Does Donald Trump care about that? I don't think so. But these are issues that just need to be brought to the table and made a priority, because these are those easy things to do and list as accomplishments in the first 100 days.
Yeah, so we're going to put together by Monday a full agenda on this. We're also going to be joined by our senior counsel, Jeff Balaban, in the third segment of the broadcast to talk about the Israel issues. We're also talking about cabinet appointments as well. What's going on social media, Logan, right now?
All right, a lot of people are just now joining us. Thousands are joining us on Facebook right now. Lots of support for Israel. A lot of people saying we should support Israel and hope for a truly peaceful transition. That's from Laura. And then just general comments coming in right now.
All right, we'll take more of your calls when we come back. Don't forget our matching challenge campaign as we continue in court against the FBI, the Department of Justice, the IRS, ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. And again, if you want to talk to us on air, 1-800-684-3110. By the way, moving that is more than symbolic. Israel's capital is Jerusalem. All it means is the United States will recognize it as such. And as I said, it's a simple move mechanically for the president. There are geopolitical ramifications of it that have to be dealt with. As you're hearing, our work is really critical right now in this period between the presidency, when the president is still in office and when the president leaves. We're very concerned about what's going to happen in Israel and other issues of executive action. In order for us to stand firm and defend Israel, I'm going to ask you to do something. We're in a matching challenge campaign at the ACLJ. Will you go over to ACLJ.org and support our work? ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. It's a matching challenge. Any amount you donate, we're getting a matching gift for. Again, 1-877-989-2255 or ACLJ.org. Back with more in just a moment.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
On Obamacare, and I want to start with that conversation. We're going to put together the kind of a list of what we think the president's agenda should be and the issues that we need to be looking at. But I will tell you one thing: if you're concerned about religious liberty under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, that can be fixed very quickly by the president-elect when he's president, by executive action or rule and regulation change. And we're putting together the legal analysis how that works. Probably be done in 30 days. So I do believe that you'll see an end to the unconstitutional cost-sharing subsidies that already have been ruled unconstitutional in one context. I think the contraceptive mandate that was being attacked by the being challenged, which it should have been by the Little Sisters of the Poor, I think those cases go away without having to go back to Congress. Then Congress is going to have to replace and repeal and replace Obamacare and get our healthcare system back to something that works, and maybe Ben Carson may be leading the charge on that. Than, get me the sense for our audience here of what's happening in Washington right now.
There's a lot of questions, actually. Someone just asked, Than, what's it feel like right now in D.C.?
Yeah, go ahead, Than. What does it feel like right now up in Washington?
Well, with President-elect Trump just leaving the White House, having met with President Obama, and now moving to the Hill, Jay is going to meet with both Speaker Ryan and the leader of the Senate, and he will continue to be the leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell. I think there's a lot of focus on that. But behind the scenes, I actually think that's where maybe it's more interesting right now, because everybody you talk to has some role in this transition process. Jordan talked a little bit about in the break about the, how this works. A lot of the tensions on the top cabinet level positions, but there are literally hundreds and hundreds of positions that the new president-elect has to fill very soon. There are, of course, more behind that, Jay, but I think a lot of that attention are on those second and third tier levels here in Washington, D.C.
those
today.
are big positions, actually, the second and third.
Yeah, think about
Yep.
we talked about cabinet, but who is going to be the ambassador to the United Nations?
Yes.
Who is going to be the ambassador to Iraq? Who is going to be the ambassador to the UK, to France, to Russia, to Israel? And then, that's just, we're just talking to China, to Japan, some of our most important, to Mexico. These are key positions that are not usually filled by the names in kind of the public life always. Donald Trump is unique in that he's not coming out of the political world, so he's got kind of a Rolodex of 100 political actors. And then there's a discussion as well. You've got the policy people, the people who are going to craft all of the policy. These are they'll take your lead, and then they've got to put that into kind of words on paper. That is a group that may not have been as supportive of him, and they're going to have to, I think, work together. I think the Trump transition team realizes that they are going to have to utilize a lot of Republicans and conservative thought folks who were not necessarily on board, but are willing to serve their country.
And that's what happens here. So people are asking, I've got asked this the last couple of days. Friends of mine have been texting me from all over the country saying, well, there was such a lack of unity and the establishment Republicans, and what happens now? This is not the first time this has happened in our country. So what happens is everybody starts working together. If you're on the same page where you want to go on a philosophical, political, policy level, you do it. Look, we have a director of policy at the ACLJ. We have a policy department at the ACLJ that covers everything from domestic and foreign policy. So all of that comes into play. You start influencing wherever you can, and you work together to advance the country's best interests. You know what I think happened in that election? Can I say one thing? Logan, it's something you said early on, and I think when I'm reading now in the international papers, I'm seeing it. You know what people voted for at the end of the day? They wanted to feel safe.
Right. I think that's absolutely true. I think they knew, regardless of how you felt about any other issue, and even if you don't know if Donald Trump will make you feel safe, you at least know you were going to get more of the same.
With her.
With the Clinton administration. So I think there was a big shift in that.
Yeah, I do think that was big. All right, let's go ahead and take a phone call.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go to Daryl in Myrtle Beach.
Hey, Daryl, go ahead.
Hey, Jay, I just want to say I'm a big fan. I think
Thanks.
you're one of the best radio and TV guys out there going, and I'm going to be I intend to be a financial contributor to
appreciate that.
your show real soon. But my question is this: is do you foresee Trump caving or how can I say, trying to reach because we all know what he said on the campaign trail. And we all know, but I mean, how do you see him? I mean, aside from
politics, Daryl, politics is the art of the possible. So remember, the Republicans don't have 60 votes in the United States Senate. They don't have a filibuster-proof majority. But I don't sense that Donald Trump is going to compromise quickly. But political art is compromise.
Yeah,
to get things done. You don't compromise policy.
I think what has happened, Daryl. And this is I think will be the left's worst nightmare, and it's why they're freaking out right now, is President Obama set a precedent for unbelievable unilateral action and power by the President of the United States. Donald Trump is the exact kind of person who will utilize all of that power and maybe even push it to another level. So if Congress doesn't want to act, he will, and it won't be a President Trump setting that it will be using the precedent set by President Obama. Not by President Bush, but by President Obama, that you can take these unilateral actions that may be in conflict with existing law. You take the action, and then you fight it out in court. And so for a President Trump, I could absolutely see him taking those steps. I think for his core supporters, you've got to be realistic. There are issues like Obamacare, which can start being undone, the Iran deal, which can start being undone.
Let me jump in on Obamacare for a second, because even with Obamacare, here's the truth of the matter. The Democrats know it has to be fixed because there is this rate hike impacted them at the election. Logan, you said you had a question?
There's a comment related to that. Lilith on Facebook said, if Obamacare is repealed, will people left without any health insurance?
No, because the Republicans have to. It's repeal and replace.
They'll have to be. So I think the first steps will be you'll see the mandate fall. You will see, so there won't be penalties. So these hikes, and then there'll be something, a stopgap, maybe for a year that kind of comes into play, so that people don't lose their insurance, and then an entirely new healthcare regime, if you will, when it comes to the not just pulling pieces from here and there, but something entirely new and something entirely different that Republicans will be able to work on, and Democrats will be forced to at least vote on, or else they would be leaving people with no option. So that's there. I would also add on, for those on immigration, Donald Trump's been very clear. He's going to reverse
that executive order on the DAPA and all that.
DAPA, DACA, all the things we were fighting in court, those are now going to be out on day one.
Yep.
So it won't have to be concerned with how a court will come down on it. Of course, what is interesting, though, is that on the wall issue and border security, Donald Trump, that's not going to be done in obviously 2 months.
Right.
It could be started. And what Donald Trump has said is that I will not address how to handle the people here until we've addressed the border security issue. So I think what he's got to do is get in there, get the border security, start the funding for however this wall will look, and whether it's
it's 1,000 miles, by the way. It's not the entire border.
Yeah, right.
And you'll start using technology as well.
And put the pressure on Democrats to say, you start this, and once we have that started and moving and actually being funded, then we will address what to do with the people here who are here illegally, have been here for many years.
I will tell you, the facial expressions on people like Valerie Jarrett and others that they've been showing has been pretty breathtaking. Than, what do you hear? Our friend Jeff Sessions, Senator Sessions from Alabama, I suspect is going to get a big portfolio here. What are you starting to hear? I'm hearing either Attorney General or Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, probably more likely Secretary of Defense or AG. What are you hearing?
Yeah, my money's on Secretary of Defense. Frankly, Jay, I think he could probably have any of those three that he wanted. He's been in New York City the last couple of days helping Donald Trump work this process out. I know Governor Christie, Mayor Giuliani, and others have been there as well. So I think that's probably the biggest possibility. I would just say this, and Jordan is so spot on in the Obamacare. Speaker Ryan said just yesterday that he was going to go big and go bold behind Donald Trump on this. And remember, that apparatus, much of that apparatus was passed with 51 votes in the United States Senate. It's going to be pulled down with 51 votes in the United States Senate, and I expect that will happen in January.
All right, let's go ahead and take some more comments or calls. Logan, what do you want to do next?
Let's take a comment that came in. A lot of people are asking about this article going around. I know you've seen it that said, though, President Obama permanently protects Planned Parenthood. We've seen that kind of go around. What is this story?
Okay, so that's absolutely incorrect. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Let me tell you who you're not hearing from right now. Guess who? Planned Parenthood.
They're freaking out.
They've got a situation that they haven't had in a long time. The Republicans are going to control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And the president-elect ran on defunding Planned Parenthood. So if you're Planned Parenthood right now, this is not looking so good. Plus, all the committees of the Senate and the House are now going to be controlled by Republicans as well. So Planned Parenthood is going to be back under the spotlight they need to be under. So, no, they cannot permanently guarantee Planned Parenthood anything. In fact, one of the things we're suggesting on day one, and I think the president's going to do this, is we're put in place what was called the Mexico City policy so that funding for abortion services overseas immediately stops, which, by the way, as Jordan, as you know, is hundreds of millions of dollars going to Planned Parenthood International.
President Obama put that back, reversed that, right, in his first day in office. So these are the kind of substantive policy moves because a President-elect Trump is new to this. I mean, he's and it's been open about that. So I think we need to all lay it out so that, it's kind of, these are the things you really can do on day one, positive changes that you can make on these issues you talked about. So on the life issue, here's things you could do on your own on day one that just require signature, signature, signature. And that's why I think that for our audience, it's important that we start working towards those positive initiatives. And we have this opportunity to work on substance rather than just fighting back. Yeah.
Folks, coming up on the next segment of the broadcast, we're going to talk about what we're concerned with regarding the state of Israel during this transition period. Jeff Balaban, a senior counsel for the ACLJ, will be joining us, but this is where you come in, folks. We're in a matching challenge campaign. Any amount you donate to the work of the ACLJ, we get a matching gift for. It's tax deductible. Let me encourage you to do that. ACLJ.org, of course, the easiest way to do that at ACLJ.org, or call us at 1-877-989-2255. And, when you're talking about defending Israel, I'll bless those that bless thee, curse those that curse thee. The scripture could not be clearer. Stand with Israel right now. Stand with us. ACLJ.org for that matching challenge, or 1-877-989-2255. Back with more in a moment.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.
One of the things that we are concerned about, and as you know, we do a lot of work with Israel. I was with government officials from the state of Israel on Sunday. I was with representatives of the European Union as well in a very high-level meeting on what is a very serious concern, and that is that there is, without question, a concern that President Obama will take the time between now and the swearing-in of Donald Trump as president to try to push forward in the United Nations a resolution which would, in essence, require return to the pre-67 borders for Israel. Now, this will be hugely significant, and we're prepared to fight on that front. But again, the United States has normally been the veto of these resolutions when you've had this attempt to try to either redefine Israel's borders or the condemnation of Israel. The problem now is this administration going out. That's where it's going to be dangerous, folks, and that's why we're looking at it. We're going to have more on that next week on the broadcast as we move forward on the agenda. Joining us right now is our senior counsel for the ACLJ, Jeff Balaban, who also does a lot of work on our front regarding Israel. Jeff, a couple of things that have come up. One is the move. Donald Trump said this during the debate. It's been also said again. The idea that it will be appropriate for the United States to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Talk about the significance of that if that does happen.
Well, there are times in human events it's just hard not to see the hand of God. I mean, we're coming on the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem in
next year.
the 1967 war.
Right.
Unbelievable. And we suddenly have a president comes out of nowhere with the most incredible pro-Israel advisors, and they're saying very straightforward, very clearly that they want to move the embassy to Jerusalem now. They want to move it to Jerusalem this year. I don't know what kind of roadblocks people are going to try and throw in terms of Washington or internationally, but it seems to be that this is absolutely their agenda.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I think, Jeff, that those roadblocks, we talked about this before you were joining us, is that these bureaucrats that you'll have in Washington, D.C., the ones who won't quit, and there are plenty that they'll act like they quit, but they stay around. This is the only job they've ever had.
Right.
They will do everything. I saw this in the Bush administration, but I think even more so in a move like this, moving the embassy.
You and
they've
Jeff
been
have
so
worked together
opposed.
for a long time.
Is it Jeff? He will have to deal with those bureaucrats at the State Department attempting to undermine like a move like this. Just even though it sounds so simple to our audience that the president can order it, they will put out every document they can. They will try to throw under the bus and try to say we're putting our national security, we're putting people at risk, and so he's going to have to deal with that. Him and whoever his Secretary of State is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's why I mentioned roadblocks. You're right. I didn't hear that part of the conversation, but there is no question that all the powers that be are going to throw up roadblocks. And unfortunately, we may well see roadblocks from groups that call themselves pro-Israel, but who are so dedicated to the idea that there has to be an Arab state in Judea and Samaria, that Jerusalem has to be divided to get there. We may see roadblocks from people who are calling themselves our friends.
Yep.
But the question is about Donald Trump and his people, and they seem to be very clear that this is their agenda. And I think we clearly have a friend in the White House right now on this issue.
Yeah, you also were very instrumental in drafting of the platform for the Republican National Committee on Israel. I want to say that right out the bat. We talk about Judea and Samaria, the quote settlements. I don't use the term settlements. We're representing, and Jeff is part of this case, we're representing one of the foundations that have been sued by Palestinian activists that are part of the Judea and Samaria area. But Trump has said that he does not see that as a roadblock for peace. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't a roadblock for peace. This is a put-up situation to try to delegitimize Israel.
100%, Jay. I mean, this is the whole thing. The entire concept of a Christian-free, Jewish-free, United state, of people who are clearly our enemies. I mean, the Palestinian Authority president has declared that Oslo is dead. That the accord which first changed the terrorist group PLO into the so-called Palestinian Authority is dead. Well, then they're just a terrorist group, and the idea of giving them a state when they've done nothing for peace is insane. And Donald Trump himself has spoken out about how terrifically he thinks the platform is. He's embraced it. His advisors work directly with us on it. Were very instrumental in it. They put out subsequently, the Trump campaign put out its statement of Israel policy. Not only do they talk about Judea and Samaria, they talk about the impossibility of a two-state solution, and they talk about moving the embassy. So all of these things are front and center on their agenda.
All right.
And I also, by the way, believe that Donald Trump will be very strong in indicating that he would disapprove of any lame duck session kind of activity to circumvent America's power or to do some kind of a deal with the international community to try and hurt Israel.
Let me tell you what we're looking at there, Jeff. I was in a series of meetings over the weekend in Atlanta dealing with this very issue, and we're, as you know, we're going to be heavily involved in it. So here's the concern, and I want our audience, there's millions of you listening, thousands and thousands watching. Their concern is that President Obama, as his parting foreign policy, what would you call it, John? Foreign policy?
His actions. I mean, and trying to prevent. I mean, I think this is another roadblock that Jeff talked about, these roadblocks. So one, you've got the bureaucracy inside. Two, you have whatever President Obama can try and do in these next 70 days to undermine future moves by President Trump. So he can throw roadblocks in as well.
Yeah, and
he's doing so without any electoral. I mean, listen, his party has lost at every level.
Yeah.
He's not up for re-election again.
So what does he have to lose in a sense?
And it would help, for him, it would please his base still for his legacy of the left.
But what Donald Trump has to do, and this is critical, I want to go to Than on this, then we've got an interesting question coming on Facebook on the nuclear deal. But Than, what has to happen is, and you're a UN representative here, the fact of the matter is if the president goes to the UN, says we will support a resolution to demand Israel return pre-67 borders, which is wrong from a political standpoint and a legal standpoint, and we're putting together a full dossier on that that we'll announce next week. But if that move happens and the United States does not veto it, of course, and if the president backed it up, that would be extremely problematic. So right now, the Trump people, what Jeff just said is right. The president-elect's staff and team and people like us need to go in there and say, don't do this. You're interfering with the next president of the United States foreign policy. Van?
That's absolutely correct. And actually, I think that's the biggest reason that the announced move about the embassy is so important, because I think it sends a clear signal that on substance, on this veto at the United Nations Security Council, a President Trump is going to be in the right place. And listen, I would just say this. I think it is a near certainty that President Obama is going to try this, and here's why. It has been an 8-year plan to do this. He's not going to walk away from it in his final days. We have to expect it. It is coming.
We're going to have to mobilize millions of people. I mean, literally over 1 million people and to fight on this. Because, Jeff, that would be a catastrophic move. And very quickly, you got less than a minute here.
Absolutely, it would be catastrophic. And, Stan, I agree with you. We're both hearing from our separate sources on Capitol Hill that there's tremendous concern on Capitol Hill that just such a move might take place.
Gentlemen, let me tell you this. I've heard it from the horse. It's going to happen unless the pressure's used. Go ahead and finish up, Jeff.
No, I'm just saying that obviously anything we can do on the legal front, to support the efforts politically, it needs to happen because this is a dire moment.
Yep.
But if we can see through this, we do have an incredible new friend in the White House.
All right, very good. Jeff Balaban, Senior Counsel for the ACLJ. That's going to do it for the broadcast this week, folks. But as Jeff Balaban was just talking about, we've got a lot of work ahead, especially on the issue of Israel. I want to ask you to stand with us as we stand with Israel. We've got a matching challenge campaign going on right now, which means any amount you donate to the ACLJ, we're getting a matching gift for. $10 is $20, $20 is $40, $500 is $1,000. That's how it works. ACLJ.org, that's ACLJ.org, or 1-877-989-2255. ACLJ.org, or 877-989-2255.
It is a critical time for our nation, and the American Center for Law and Justice is on the front lines, defending life and liberty, engaging the issues that matter most to you and your family. Whether it's working to protect Americans from the dangers of radical Islam and the persecution of Christians, to defending life at the U.S. Supreme Court, to protecting your religious and constitutional freedoms, we could not do this work without you, without your support. And now your support can really make a tremendous difference. For a limited time, you can participate in the ACLJ Matching Challenge. If you make a gift now, it will be doubled. $25 becomes $50. A $100 gift becomes $200. Please stand with the ACLJ right now and call 1-877-989-2255. That's 1-877-989-2255, or go online at aclj.org. Thank you for your support.